This is Auteur, and welcome to another vinyl recommendation. Today I'm going to be talking about Conway the Machine, God Don't Make Mistakes. And this album is very, very special. I would even venture to say that this is one of the most important rap albums of all time. For the sheer fact of the amount of emotional vulnerability that he shows on this album is unparalleled. And Conway the Machine, I've reviewed his projects before. I got a lot of his vinyls. I've already reviewed, let me think, La Machina, and I'm still planning on reviewing the Everybody is Food series, but this album, he ventured into a different direction. This was kind of more than I expected out of any Griselda project. I took a lot of notes on this one. And first off, I love the title, God Don't Make Mistakes. That's an incredible title. He went from a machine to a god, which was already a classic album, instant classic in my opinion. And now it seems like he's come back to earth and reconnecting to his emotions and facing his traumas. And like I said, this is just one of the bravest rap albums I've ever heard. I would compare this to like Tupac's Dear Mama. That level of emotional just maturity. Gonna go through the tracks. Lock Load, it starts with the griminess. It sets his tone. It's interesting he features Beanie Sigel because Beanie is another person who has been shot. Conway was shot in the neck and I think part of his head. And Beanie was also shot, and it's affected both of their voices and the way they rap. So it was interesting that the first feature he had, in the first song, it starts with him and Beanie. And they almost mixed Beanie in a way where there was no way to get around the fact that his voice has been altered forever. So that was very interesting, strong start. And at this point in the album, I don't really know what to expect. It's kind of a standard start, really strong though, but a standard Griselda start. Then we go into Tear Gas, another just go hard track. I love the instrumental. It's just super boom bappy. Conway definitely does inspire. He mentions that he inspires a lot of people. He inspires me. And the Russell Wilson analogy was very interesting, talking about how kind of a soft, more like how people refer to Russell Wilson as this like kind of nerdy, soft figure. And he's afraid that he's going to affect his son and raise him to be completely different. And he's worried how his son might end up like he won't be able to identify with his son because of the stepfather. And that kind of hits pretty hard. Ross's verse is a little underwhelming for me. I don't think Rick Ross added too much to this. The Maybach tag is almost the best part of the Ross verse, but the Lil Wayne verse I really, really liked. He even has a Jill Scott reference in that, so that's pretty cool. Piano Love was the one that he kind of had premiered early on Insta, and I really liked that beat and the flow. He's just relentless on Piano Love, like rapping for the whole song. And I really like the line about still eating ramen noodles. It's super hard. And I like how he uses FUBU as like a time reference. That's pretty funny. And he says, sticks and stones don't break my bones and bullets don't hurt me. Super hard line that only Conway can say. Then we go into Drumwork. This was my favorite track on the album. Conway reminds me of Prodigy, and this I feel like is his Shook Ones because it has that kind of hi-hat, like stove pilot light beat. And the song is just so cold. That tempo just flawlessly remains as it transitions from Conway to 7X the Genius to Jay Skis. And I really like that he brought on his people on this song because Jay Skis and 7X the Genius are both on his label Drumwork. And if you think that Griselda is the only company under this collective, that's Westside Gunn's company. Conway the Machine's company is Drumwork, and then Benny's company is BSF, Black Soprano Family. So definitely give them credit for their own companies. They're all building their own empires. Wes might have started it, but they're all dons of their own organizations. And this song is, like I said, just so cold. I like the song better than Shook Ones, and Shook One is a classic. I mean, that's why I put out Mobb Deep on this, and I think that long form rapping, Conway really does remind me of Prodigy. And the line that sticks out on this is 7X the Genius when she says, "Do it nasty, stick the thumb in." I think that sticks out to everybody. That's a funny line. And I would definitely recommend to go check out 7X the Genius and Jay Skees' albums. They're all good. Both of the recent albums from them I've listened to, and they were both really solid. I heavily recommend those, and I probably will review those as well. Then it goes into Wild Chapters, another Hit Boy beat. Hit Boy always does Griselda good. My favorite Hit Boy production for Griselda is probably Legend. And I haven't heard T.I. in a long time. I really like the hooks on this song. Then we go into Guilty. It has a nice vocal flip, and this is the shortest song, but it's really sweet. Goes into a super airy, bubbly boom bap beat that just breathes so much. And I think that's a theme on this album, is all these beats breathe so well with this like gospel soul feel, but still grimy. And he goes in and starts describing his issues with his Bell's palsy, which is the disease, kind of like a degenerative disease similar to strokes, I think, that affected him from him being shot. And he goes into how he doesn't appreciate people's comments on his appearance, but they can't talk anything about his ability because it's unmatched. I agree with that. He says after the album, "No critic can slight me ever." I agree with that. No critic should ever slight Conway. If they do, they just don't understand him, or they didn't hear what the hell he was saying. Because I can't understand if someone actually ingested what he was saying to not think that he's one of the greatest rappers of all time. And this is where the album starts to get kind of emotional. Then we go into John Woo Flick, and as I keep saying, any track where you have Westside, Conway, and Benny on the same song is going to be just amazing. I don't think I've ever heard a bad track with all three of them on it. And it's just an unstoppable duo. Like, if Jay-Z is Jehovah, and the only reason I mention this is he mentions Jehovah in the song. If Jay-Z is Hova, then Griselda is for sure the Trinity, because they're just unmatched. Goodfellas, like Ray Liotta, that's a good line. Rest in peace, Ray Liotta. Derringer compared to RZA, "I'm compared to those who stab you in your face with a pair of scissors." I really like that line. That's a classic Conway line. And then Westside comes in so hard on this beat. I can't help but just scream with Westside throughout his whole verse on this. It brings so much fresh energy into this track. Get caught with it. I'll see you in 3 summers. Get caught without it. Might not live to speak about it. That's a really good line, talking about gun charges, because they have felonies. So they're like, if I get caught with my gun, I'm going to be going away for 3 summers. But if not, I might be killed. So that's pretty funny. There was also a line on this album where they talked about interviewers asked them real questions, like, are their guns real? That's pretty funny. Then we go into one of the more important tracks on the album, Stressed. And this is, I took a whole page of notes on this track. He talks some real on this, like some of the realest shit I have ever heard on a rap song. I just gotta give him praise for talking about his trauma with such clarity. I've never really heard a rapper do this. I've heard rappers scratch the surface, but never to this level. And I don't think anybody can, because Conway is in he's had such a hard life, and he's in such a unique position to express himself in this deep way. He talks about feeling pressure from the people around him, wanting them to help him despite him continuously helping them. He's like, what about all the stuff I've already done for you? Nobody's doing anything for me. And he still needs help himself. That's what he conveys on this. He talks about having depression and stress, and those things are awful. I've struggled with both of those in my life, and I don't wish that on anybody. But I just want to say, he talks about, does anybody care? I know this is corny, but I think people do care, Conway. He's probably not watching this, but we care. I care. I really do. Suicide is heartbreaking, and he talks about his cousin hanging himself. Then he goes into something I can't even imagine, which is losing a child. Like, I can't even imagine. I'm choking up even thinking about that. And the image of him holding his baby, his dead baby, and it looking just like him is just heart-wrenching. This is literally the only rap song I've ever cried to listening, and I don't know why. Like, I'm usually not even connected to my emotions like that. I've been through a lot of traumatic incidences in my life. I've been robbed. I've had guns put to my head. Had 3 dudes run up in my house and catch me off guard while I was napping in my underwear. I've had my shit raided. I've been shot. I've been stabbed. I've had people betray me. I've started a company with my best friend, and then he went and started messing around with a girl I was messing with. Like, so many things like can happen. Have issues with my family. There's so many things that can just bring you down. And it's hard for me to cry about my own life, but the way that Conway just kept piling on and presenting all this information, I couldn't help but just weep listening to this song. Like, I feel like this song really activated something inside me, and I feel like it made me feel like it's okay to cry or something. I don't know, but I just cried my eyes out to this song, which was a really, really surreal feeling. And after that, like after the point, the child shit made me cry. And then he goes even deeper, which it's like, it's just crazy. He goes deeper and starts going into like his childhood abuse and how he had been hit in the stomach and it swelled up, and now he struggles with alcohol and insomnia. 2 awful things as well. Like, alcohol is a nasty drug. I don't recommend anybody to consume alcohol. I'm a weed guy, like through and through. And then being reminded of everything that he mentioned when he looks in the mirror, being reminded of being shot, all that, because he was shot in the freaking head. Like, that shit's crazy that he's even with us. And Conway really does have to be a machine to just continue living. His name is earned. Absolutely earned. Like, a lot of people that have been through this kind of thing, they really do have to detach from themselves. But the fact that the theme of this album was him kind of addressing his trauma and the sheer amount of trauma, and that he put it all on one song. Stressed is this is one of the most important rap albums ever made, and Stressed is one of the most important songs. And I feel like a lot of the people that have went through all of these exact things, that have lost a child, I don't even know if they can separate from their cognitive dissonance to even listen to this track. So this one might take decades to reach the people it needs to reach. But this solidified Conway as the realest MC on the planet. He is different. It's deeper than rap. Then we go into the track So Much More, where he says that exact same thing. He's soulful track. After that traumatic ass track, he had to go into something like soulful, and this song feels like they're in church. And it's just so heavy, like it breathes so much. It's kind of like Guilty. And he talks about not wanting to be the best because then there would be nothing left for him to do. And he says don't put him in a box because he's so much more than just a rapper, and he really is. And then he kind of reminds of how he started, and Devil's Reject, one of his first solo albums, was not that long ago. They've only been at this for a few years. Like, they've damn near been rapping. I started my company in 2017. I didn't do anything until 2022. But they damn near started rapping around the time I did. Like, they've been rapping their whole lives but putting out albums. And just the trajectory that they've had is insane. And I just want to say I am organically reviewing this because he's talking about how dope it is that people organically fuck with him. And I just want to say I organically felt compelled to recommend this on my channel. Then we go into Chanel Pearls, and Jill Scott rapped really well on this. I don't think she's ever rapped before. I've never heard her rap before. She's a good R&B singer. And he talks about how he still has to protect himself. His head's on a swivel. It's kind of coming full circle, like shit doesn't change. And his rhyme scheme is crazy on this one. Then we go into Babas with Keisha Plum. And Keisha Plum never misses. She just is a dope spoken word artist. And I love the delayed guitar chords on this track. It's super dope. It just rips right through the sonic airwaves. And I love Conway's pauses in his flow on this song. He really lets the tracks breathe. He knows what he's working with. Then we go into the self-titled track, God Don't Make Mistakes. It's the outro. And it features Conway's mom. I've heard people use voicemails, and I think I've heard people have their mom on the track, like Tyler on that most recent, but not like this. Because his mom's literally like begging for him to come back to life, or talking about how he struggled in the hospital and how he died several times. And he's just saying, what if he made different choices? Would he have been shot? And if he didn't get shot, would he be as famous as he is now? Would they have all these murals? Would he be considered one of the GOATs? Would he have met Alchemist? Would he got signed by Shady? But he goes into that in detail with specific events and places. And it's just a really, really in-depth track. I mean, I tried and failed to make an exact song like this with that like downward slide feel. Like it has this sound that almost feels like you're sinking into your stomach. And I've tried to create tracks like this. On my album, it was Neo Slumber. I was trying to go for this vibe, and I feel like I failed at it, but Conway nailed it. So when I heard this, I was like, that is exactly what they were going for, and they got it. And like, that's what stuff like that is what rap needs. It almost feels like you're just like that feeling of just seeing your friend die, because I've lost a lot of friends. Just when you hear about like one of your best friends dying, that sound is like encapsulates that feeling of just sinking into yourself. And that's all the songs, and all I can say is this is a powerful album. It's opened me up to where I can even talk about this in that way. Like this album like shifted something in my soul for sure, and I hope it does that for other people. I can't recommend any album more than this. This is an absolute masterpiece. It might not be something I throw on a lot because it's so heavy. Like out of the Tana Talk 4, Hitler Wears Hermes 8, and God Don't Make Mistakes, I probably listen to the Hitler 8 the most, but man, this album is so different. It's so heavy. So I would just say really give it a listen, really open up your heart to this album, and get it to the right ears.